Hey, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to jump into a skill that is absolutely essential for anyone who works with data, actually getting the data in the first place. We're going way beyond those nice, neat, organized databases and looking at how to get raw data from out there in the wild. So you've got SQL down. You can pull data from a database, no problem. And that's a huge skill. But here's the thing. Most of the world's data, the really interesting stuff you want to get your hands on, it's not sitting in a perfect little table. It's all over the place, in files, on websites, locked away in different services. So what do you do then?
Well, that's exactly what we're going to tackle. We're going to build out a data-grabbing toolkit with 3 key methods, dealing with local files, scraping websites, and using APIs. And we'll start with the simplest case.
All right, let's kick things off with a scenario you're gonna see all the time. What if the data you need is already on your computer, just sitting there in a plain old text file? This is where you'll run into something called delimited files.
You can think of these as the absolute workhorses of data sharing. A CSV, that's a comma-separated values file, is the classic example. Every single line is a new piece of data, and the commas just separate the different fields. It's a super simple, totally universal way to store structured information.
Now, when you first open one of these files, say a tab-separated file with stock prices, it kind of just looks like a messy block of text. I mean, you can see the pattern, right? Date, stock symbol, then the price. But it's not really in a state that your code can just immediately work with.
But this is where Python's built-in CSV library is your best friend. Seriously, with just a couple of lines of code, we can tell it to open the file, understand that a tab is what separates our data, and then it'll just hand us each row, one by one, all neatly packaged up.
And boom, here's what you get. We've gone from that raw text jumble to clean, separated variables that we can actually use. It's a really simple idea, but it's incredibly powerful. But what happens when the data isn't in a nice file on your computer?
Okay, right, so what if the data you need is just on a website? It's not in a file you can download, it's just text on a page. This leads us to our second method, web scraping.
Web scraping is basically teaching your program to read a website, kind of like a human would, but, a million times faster. You're telling your code to look at the underlying HTML, find the specific little bits of info you're interested in, and just pull them right out. And a fantastic tool for this is a library called beautifulsoup.
And here's what you're up against. The data you want is often buried deep inside all this HTML code. You can see the book title and the author right there, but it's wrapped up in all these tags like div and a. We need a way to navigate that maze and just grab what we need. And this is how you do it. Using something like beautifulsoup, you can give your code super specific instructions. You can say, hey, find me the div with the class named thumbheader, then look for the link inside that and just give me the text. It's like having a scalpel to surgically extract the data.
And the result? We did it. We pulled that structured data, the title and the author, right out of that messy HTML. Now, this is an amazing trick, but scraping has a pretty major weakness. Scraping feels kind of fragile, doesn't it? I mean, if that website's owner decides to redesign the page tomorrow, if they change the HTML structure or rename some classes, your scraper just breaks instantly. You'd have to go back and rewrite it. So you have to wonder, is there a better way, a more reliable way? And yes, there absolutely is. And that brings us to the wonderful world of APIs. An API is basically a special direct line to a service's data that was built specifically for programs to use. So instead of trying to read the visual web page, the front door, you get to use a side door that's made just for clean data requests. It's the polite way to ask for data, and it's way more stable. This chart really lays it all out. Scraping is brittle because it depends entirely on the visual design of a website. An API, on the other hand, is like a contract. The company is basically promising to provide data in a specific, structured format, and they try very hard not to break that promise. And the language that most APIs speak is called JSON. What's so great about JSON is that it's just plain text, it's really easy for humans to read, and, this is the best part, it maps almost perfectly to a Python dictionary. That makes working with it an absolute breeze. I mean, just look how simple Python makes this. The API sends you a string of JSON text, and one single function call, json.loads, instantly converts it into a Python dictionary that you can start using right away. It's just so clean and efficient. Okay, so let's put it all together now.
how do all these different methods fit into a practical, day-to-day toolkit for getting data?
But first, a few really important ground rules. You have to work responsibly. A lot of APIs will require a special key to authenticate your request, so you've got to read their documentation. And whether you're scraping or using an API, be a good citizen. Don't hammer their server with a million requests a second. And always check their terms of service. Just because you can get the data doesn't always mean you should.
So here it is, your decision-making cheat sheet. If the data is in a local file, great, that's low complexity, high reliability. If it's on a website that doesn't have an API, okay, you can scrape it, but just be ready for your code to break down the road. But if that service offers an API, that's your best bet. Use it. It is almost always the most reliable and robust choice you can make. So, mastering these skills means you can pretty much get your hands on any data you want. But that's just the first step, right? That's just the beginning of the journey. The real question, the exciting question is, once you have all that data, what are you going to find? What's the story you're going to tell with it? Hey, if this explainer helped you add some new tools to your data toolkit, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button and shared it. And of course, subscribe for more explainers just like this one. Thanks so much for watching.